The mission of the Sikh Research Institute is to provide educational resources to Sikhs to lead a Guru-inspired life. Sikhri is an inclusive resource for you, your family, your community, and 30 million Sikhs worldwide. We are focused on helping you fall in love with Sikhi. I'll also like to introduce our presenter today, Dr.Nadhra Khan. Dr. Khan teaches art history at the Lahore University of Management Sciences, Lahore, and is currently in the US as a Fulbright Fellow at Princeton University. Her primary area of research and interest in the 19th century Sikh art and architectural ornament in the Punjab, but she also focuses on Mughal art and architecture from the 16th to the 18th century. Her work emphasizes the significance of the Sikh period as the last episode of centuries old indigenous art and architectural tradition before annexation of the Punjab by the British in 1849 that changed, amongst other things, the visual culture of the Punjab forever. A research project that started with one Sikh funerary movement of Samadhi built to honor Maharaja Ranjit Singh has led her to study almost all monuments dateable to this period, including the Golden Temple Amritsar, Sikh period Havelis, and various other Samadhis. Her current research includes the impact of Sikh architectural vocabulary on subsequent British Raj architecture in the Punjab, and the deep impact of British art and craft education on traditional art and craft practices. And so without further ado, I'd like to pass it over to Dr. Nadhra Khan to begin today's presentation. Give me one moment while I give presenter rights to Dr. Khan.
Thank you, Jasdeep. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
All right.
Let me know when you receive the presenter switch. Give me one moment. Okay.
Okay. So, show my screen?
Yes, please.
Okay. Right.
Okay. We can see your PowerPoint slice.
Right.
There you go.
Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you, Jasdeep. And I would like to begin by thanking the Sikh Research Institute for giving me this opportunity of sharing my research with an interested audience. And thank you all who are there for this session. This session is divided into 3 sections. I will begin with a short introduction of the building and then show you images of the Gurdwara. Once you are familiar with the different sections of the building, we will move to the second part that deals with the historical account of the Gurdwara by 19th century historians in Lahore. And these include Nur Ahmad Chishti, Rai Bahadur Kanhaiya Lal, and Sayyid Muhammad Latif. The last section shall connect the past with the present, and I will briefly give you a small list of other buildings that are dateable to the Sikh period. So starting with a little background of the building. So Dera Sahib complex is right in front of the Lahore fort, and during the 50 years of Sikh supremacy in the Punjab between 1799 to 1849, several Gurdwaras, Havelis, gardens and their baradaris, and samadhis or funerary monuments were commissioned by the elite. These edifices are integral to Sikh heritage, and some very important ones associated with religious figures as well as Sikh royalty lie in the Pakistani Punjab. The most significant among these are Guru Nanak's birth and death places, Gurdwara Janam Asthān Nankana Sahib and Gurdwara Kartarpur Narowal. The fourth Guru, Guru Ramdas Ji's birthplace in Chuna Mandi, Lahore, Dera Sahib, the fifth Guru's Shaheedi Asthān or place of martyrdom, an important Gurdwara in Lahore, additions by Ranjit Singh to the Lahore fort that includes two courts, the Atdara and the Hazuri Bagh Baradari. His son Khadak Singh and grandson Nonihal Singh's Havelis, and Maharaja and his son and grandson's own samadhis or funerary memorials are also in Lahore. And these are just a few of the important buildings datable to the Sikh period. Besides these, there still survive several other monuments in Lahore and other parts of the Punjab calling out for attention in more than one ways. Besides the built heritage, Sikh period paintings, including miniatures, frescoes, and some oil paintings, furniture, arms, jewelry, and so much more lies in different museums or private collections all over Pakistan. And now going back to the Gurduara Dera Sahib complex, this is situated on the north side of Lahore to the west of Lahore Fort. I'm trying to move my slides now. Okay, so here we have. This is an aerial view of the area. Can you see, Jasdeep, can you see the cursor moving? I hope you can.
Yes, I
Okay.
can. Sorry, I was muted.
Right, sorry. So what you have in front of you is an aerial view of the area that the cursor is moving on the area that is the Lahore Fort. This is the Hazuri Bagh Baradari, right in front of the Alamgiri Gate, one of the gates of the Lahore Fort. This is the Badshahi Mosque. And this area is the Gurdwara Dera Sahib complex. Gurdwara Dera Sahib, the Dera Sahib Gurdwara is this where the cursor is right now, and now the cursor is moving on Maharaja Ranjit Singh Samadhi. This is the road that leads, of course, first of all we come to the Dera Sahib complex gateway. I have slides to show you the front view of this gateway, but this is the road that kind of leads you to one entrance here to the Lahore Fort and the other one which is the main entrance here. So now, okay, this is a clearer version of what I just showed you. So this is the Lahore Fort where the cursor is right now, and the red dots indicate the important buildings that are datable to the Sikh period. This is the Hazuri Bagh, the Badshahi Mosque Gateway, and this is the area that we are focusing on today, the Gurdwara Dera Sahib. This is the Alamgiri Gate, but I will come back to this in a minute. Let me give you a little more background about the Gurdwara Dera Sahib complex. As we have discussed, it is situated on the north side of Lahore to the west of the Lahore Fort, north of the Badshahi Mosque and Hazuri Bagh, and adjacent to the Roshnai Gate, one of the 13 gates of the walled city of Lahore. The river Ravi, before changing its course, used to flow by the outer northern wall of the fort, and the area now enclosed by the complex was a river bank. And I have a watercolor painting to show you, but we will go to that in a minute. The most important building of the complex is the fifth Guru Arjun Dev's Shaheedi Asthān, or the place of his martyrdom on 30th May 1606 at the hands of Chandu Shah. According to tradition, Guru Har Gobind Ji initially built a platform or thada to commemorate the Guru's sacrifice, but proper construction took place by Maharaja Ranjit Singh. in the 19th century. His own samadhi, as well as that of his son Khadak Singh and grandson Nonihal Singh, are also within the complex. In contrast to Guru Arjun's samadhi and the Gurdwara, the samadhis of the Maharaja and his successors are built on the rooftop of a series of interconnected arcaded chambers, partly filled solid, that serve as a platform. And now we can move on to the slides. So this is the Alamgiri gate, and sorry. And this is the watercolor painting I was talking about. So this is how the Ravi used to flow by the Lahore Four Gates. What you can see here on the right side of the screen is one of the domes of the Badshai Mosque, and in this particular watercolor painting, the dome of the Gurdwara cannot be seen, but it is supposed to be around here somewhere. So this is the entrance of the Dera Sahib complex, which is of course not open to everyone. You have to either be a Sikh Yatri to be able to enter this, or get a formal permission from the Evacuee Trust Board to visit the complex. Once you enter, this is a plan that will give you a brief idea of what we're going to see before I show you slides. So this is the gate we just saw. This is how you enter. The next slides will give you this particular wall. Once this ends, and here we have a very beautifully carved doorway, door panels that you will see. And when you stand here at this particular point, what you have in front of you is Maharaja Ranjit Singh's Samadhi and the beautiful lawn. And as you move on along this path, you come to some new structures. This particular shed, the Miyamir additions block for the Yatris, and then we will go inside the building. So let's take a look at the slides. So this is the wall that I just mentioned. As you enter from the left side, this is what you get on your left again. And this is the beautifully carved door panels that I just mentioned. This is a close-up. So individual panels carved in a combination of, I would say, low relief and sometimes high relief. These are floral panels, and it also has birds, peacocks, nightingales, which we also find, interestingly, the nightingales carved in red sandstone on Maharaja Ranjit Singh Samadhi's gateway. And these, of course, have a symbolic significance where the nightingales are associated with gardens and the paradisical environment. And so this is what we have, a variety of beautifully carved different birds and flowers on this particular gateway, which is set within this white marble frame of the doorway, which is also carved in a very typical style of these leaf motifs that are dateable to 19th century Sikh period architectural ornament, but of course has its origin in much further back in time. Let's move on. So we were here a minute ago, right in front of this tree, and as we turn, this is what we have on the left. This is the Gurdwara building. I will give you a historical background of this in a minute as well, but this was added to the complex much later in early 20th century The initial building of the Gurdwara built by Maharaja Ranjit Singh lies within this. And so this is what you see in front of you is Maharaja Ranjit Singh's own Samadhi, which was built by his successors, initiated by Kharak Singh immediately after Maharaja passed away on 27th June 1839. But of course, we know Kharak Singh died within a year, less than a year and a half of this, after commencing this building. And finally, what we find is that it was completed by the British after annexation. And so this is the Mia Mir complex that has recently been added to the Dera Sahib complex by the government, Pakistani government. And this is also some new additions to make things much more convenient and easy for the pilgrims who come here on regular basis. This is the section, this is of course the Gurdwara now, but this is the section that has been added to this complex, as I just mentioned, in early 20th century. So this is not the original sort of building that was part of the Gurdwara Shaheedi Asthān built by the Maharaja. These are some of the other images. This is where Guru Granth Sahib Ji is placed. Now this is the building that I would like you to focus on, because this is the northern facade of the original building, believed to have been built by the Maharaja. This is in a typical 19th century format. The plan is square in shape, has a circumambulatory around the central section, and that particular central section has a small chhatri where a Guru Granth Sahib is now placed. But when we go to the historical accounts of 19th century historians, we find that it was used for a slightly different purpose. The dome that you see, the gold-plated dome, the segmented dome surrounded by lotus petals, is also very interesting, and I will come to that in a minute. But what we have in front of us is a typical example of building tradition or the style that was favored and that developed in the 19th century under Maharaja Ranjit Singh's patronage, and it carries beautiful examples of white marble carvings. It doesn't have much of red sandstone, but these are the two imperial sort of used materials favored by elites or people who could afford to buy them for their construction projects. It also has, as we've briefly seen, wood carvings, beautiful examples of wood carving. It also has inlay work, as you can see here within these the steps, but a lot of inlay work is in the interior as well. And the most beautiful part in the interior of this building is repoussé work as well as fresco paintings. So what we have in front of us right now is the courtyard, of course. This is the northern facade. This is the courtyard that initially was a part of the building before additions towards the right side. And this is the post where Nishan Sahib is. This is right in the courtyard of the building we just saw. And another slide to show you as to right in front of that is the Musamman Burj. And now this Musamman Burj is the area of the Lahore fort on its west side that was occupied by the Maharaja as his residential quarters. And where the cursor is moving right now is the Sheesh Mahal within the Musamman Burj. And what you have as a small kiosk on top is believed to have been used by the Maharaja to sit, sometimes listening to Granth Sahib. There are still a few buildings on top of the Sheesh Mahal that we cannot see from here, dateable to Ranjit Singh's period, used for, built by him, of course, for his harem or for the women of his, his family. Some of them were dismantled by the British, saying that these buildings were ruining the Sheesh Mahal, and the Sheesh Mahal initially built by the fifth Mughal Emperor Shah Jahan was not strong enough to have structures on top of it. So some of these buildings have been dismantled, but there are still a few that survive. And they also have beautiful wall paintings in them. Let's now move on to... So let me just go back a slide. This particular section leads down to the area where, of course, Guruji, this is the area that I am referring to, where Guruji is supposed to have taken a dip into the river Ravi. Coming back to the slides, I would like you to look at this beautiful carving and the typical style of Sikh period engaged pillars, where the base has these leaf patterns that are inverted, and then on top of that we have the kalasa-like structure, out of which another cup of leaves is making these pillars emerge, with a lozenge sort of pattern, which is also known in 19th century chronicles as the Mahi Pusht, which translates as the herringbone or the fish scale pattern. But symbolically, this is associated with water. I believe we do not have time to go into a lot of symbolism today, so I will leave it to that and move on to the next slide. This is again a combination of low relief and high relief, a pretty high relief here, again in white marble, showing lion. This appears to have been added a little later, probably because we do not have anything similar within the Samadhi or somewhere or elsewhere in the Lahore fort. But to my understanding, this probably symbolizes the Maharaja's own self here guarding the Gurdwara, as he was often referred to as the Lion of the Punjab in his lifetime and posthumously as well. And now we go inside that square building, the original Shaheedi Asthān built during the 19th century by the Maharaja. And here you find what I just talked about. If you look at the ceiling, it has ainakari. It also has wall paintings. On your left is the inlay work, which appears to be of a later date. This definitely is not Maharaja's period, but these are the engaged columns we just looked at a couple of slides earlier. Let me move on. This is another angle. The floor pattern, the checkerboard floor pattern that you see here is again typical of 19th century Sikh period buildings, or slightly late 19th century, early 20th century, but we also have that at the Golden Temple, and I'm sure you must have noticed that. This is Sahib Singh Ji. He's an extremely kind person. whenever I go to the Dera Sahib Gurdwara or Maharaja Ranjit Singh Samadhi, which of course is pretty often for my research purposes, he's always there to sort of help me with any information that I need. This is another view, and of course, sort of following the tradition of donations, we have these panels and recording the names of the donators to the Gurdwara. And now I will draw your attention to these beautiful, exquisitely painted wall painting panels, and these are placed in the upper section of the wall. Now this, of course, if this was a dome, we would call this a zone of transition, where the wall is sort of making this transition from a square into a circle. But since this is more of a bungalow roof, we can still, to some extent, call it a zone of transition. But just to make you understand that this is in the upper section of the wall, let me see if I have no, let's go back. So this is a paint, of course, we can identify that we have Guru Nanak Ji seated in the center, in his, the typical attributes that we associate with his portraiture. All of them are here. We have a tree above his head, acting like a chatar, which is associated with royalty. We have Bhai Bala, we have Bhai Mardana here, and we have another 4 figures, which could possibly be this succeeding gurus, but we're not sure, because generally what happens in paintings where Guru Nanak Ji is seated in the center, all 10, or the rest of all of 9 gurus accompany him. And since here the number is not 9, and the faces are not clearly sort of visible, it is difficult to ascertain as to who these figures may be. If we compare this particular painting with other 19th century paintings or similar wall paintings within Ranjit Singh Samadhi, which is of course next doors to the Dera Sahib complex, we do find that the rest of the 9 gurus are surrounding Guru Nanak Ji. So in any case, coming back to this, we have the white marble balustrade in the background. We have a view of the landscape in the background, some clouds. This is again pure sort of aesthetics that were used in wall paintings and miniature paintings in the 19th century. Another point I would like to mention here is that we do find in historical accounts dateable to 20th century, mid-20th century, that a team of artists were asked to restore the faces of some of the figures in around 1960s. And so what we have left in these wall paintings generally, as far as the facial, as the faces or the heads of these figures are concerned, we see that they have been damaged, and some attempt has been made to restore them, but not very effectively. Let's move to the next slide now. And here we have the other corner. Of course, this is on your right is Guru Nanak Ji. This is now Guru Gobind Singh Ji. And so as I just said, that the faces there has been an attempt, a recorded attempt of restoring the faces. So these faces, this particular figure that we have right in front of Guru Gobind Singh Ji appears to be of an older guy, but I believe that these are the four Sahibzadas seated in front of him, and this should not have been a bearded old guy that we sort of find the figure to appear to be like. And again, conforming to the traditional practices, we have the chatar or the canopy above his head, we have the halo, we have the falcon perched on his hand, and the sword, and this is, the format how Guru Gobind Singh Ji and Guru Har Gobind Singh Ji, both of them, the sixth and the 10th Guru, are depicted as. Uh, in another panel in the same area, we have Ram and Sita, another beautiful painting where Ram and Sita are seated on the throne. If you sort of focus on the beautiful embellishments of, again, the canopy, as I mentioned, is a royal symbol above their heads. Um, the throne appears to have been studded with gems. We have Hanuman here, and we have the rest of the courtiers. Um, Wall paintings, 19th century, are a delight to look at. You find so many beautiful details in them that actually remind you of what contemporary architectural practices were, and there are a lot of connections you can make, and you can draw a lot of information by looking at these paintings. Um, So this is another panel, beautiful flowers, exquisitely drawn, with loads of details, and the colors are as fresh as if they were done, a week ago, except for, of course, the plaster, for, the weather conditions, and of course, humidity and stuff has damaged the plaster, but otherwise the colors are. Um, this is one of the bungalow roofs in the interior, surrounding the central section that we will go to in a minute. And these are the mirror pieces. This is, of course, not in such a preserved state. The paint, probably due to humidity, the paint has come off. It is not as fresh as the panel we just saw. This would have had a lot of stucco work on it. And I have slides that will give you an idea of what I am talking about. Um, so this central sunflower-like roundel would have been where the light is now. Of course, these modern gadgets sort of look ugly, but you cannot do without them. So we don't know as to when this stucco panel, which is actually white plaster carving, which was frequently used in the 19th century for ornamental purposes, must have been around this. And what survives today are some pieces of the mirror mosaic. Individual, of course, mirror mosaics would have had um, a leafy pattern surrounding them in stucco relief as well. This is another view. Again, the paint, these are the empty sort of sockets here, indicate that all of these carried pieces of mirror glass, actually, ainakari, or the mirror mosaic that many of us, I'm sure, are familiar with. It does call out for restoration, but okay. So this is the central section I was talking about, right in the center of that square building we saw a while ago. It is an entirely white marble structure, beautifully carved. inlay work which is datable to a much later date, but nevertheless the techniques, some of these panels appear to have been done in the 19th century. Most of these carvings, the plinth, um, the design of this leafy pattern which is known as ponchi is there, so it conforms to 19th century traditional practices. The possibility of restoration or donations, and part of those donations to be replacing old white marble panels has been a usual practice, which sometimes makes it difficult for historians to date buildings, and that particular problem is also encountered when you try and study the Golden Temple, because a lot of new sort of additions are constantly being made because of those donations, um, and it sometimes becomes sort of a difficult thing to actually ascertain as to which part is datable. But you can do it, of course, on stylistic grounds. Another view. So within that square structure, we have another chhatri, white marble chhatri, again segmented dome, gilded, and which now holds the Guru Granth Sahib. On the northern side, we have this. Let me go back. So on the northern side, we have this beautiful window panes um, that have repoussé work. So this metal repoussé work, of course, reminds you of what we have here on the Golden Temple facade. If you look closely, the the flower arrangements of the floral panels and Guru Nanak Dev Ji with Bhai Bala and Bhai Mardana are very similar to what we have in the top section of this particular window in the Dera Sahib Gurdwara. Uh, so the idiom is um, is is the same. There is a set of um, aesthetic values that is being followed. There is a plan, a program of decorative elements that are used again and again, which gives us ample evidence of a thoughtful a sort of rendition and a thoughtful process that went into designing these buildings. And this particular idea is contrary to what we find in late 19th and early 20th century European accounts related to Sikh period buildings, where the implication was made that most of these buildings were a cut and paste job, uh, that there was no thoughtful process uh, uh, that went into designing these buildings, that these were randomly built, that these were mostly uh, using material from sort of dilapidated, rundown, falling down buildings datable to the Mughal period in the Punjab, especially in and around Lahore, um, and just sort of lifting off structures or buildings or parts of buildings or material and putting it together um, without understanding as to what to do. But my research, of course, shows that this is not the case. We do have instances where old material was used, um, but we cannot actually, to my understanding, blame them for doing that, because we do find that in the suburbs of Lahore, um, after Nadir Shah's and Ahmad Shah Abdali's constant invasions, a lot of these havelis, tombs, buildings, gardens, and the gardens, of course, had their white marble and red sandstone baradaris within them, were abandoned. And so these buildings were A, the material was reappropriated, B, they were decaying in any case, and we have accounts of, again, by Europeans passing through this particular area, talking about this the dilapidated state of these buildings, but that's another sort of, we can discuss it some other time. Here I would like you to appreciate and admire the intricate design on this of these panels that is in the Dera Sahib Gurdwara, and that is definitely dateable to Maharaja Ranjit Singh's period, because the design vocabulary and the finesse is exquisite, and we find similar designs again dateable to the 19th century, to the Maharaja's period, on the Golden Temple as well. And now when the window opens up, this is the small white marble chhatri in the center of, in the heart of the building, actually, in the center of the building. And the 19th century accounts that I will read in a minute or two will tell you about the use of this particular white marble building slightly differently. Here, of course, there was some work going on, so the Guru Granth Sahib is not placed here, but usually that is how this white marble chhatri is used these days. And this is a close-up of the domical structure on top of it. And this is the close-up of the ceiling of that particular small square central section of the building that we just saw. And now we are on the rooftop, going around the building, and let me just give you a little brief understanding of typical 19th century architectural and especially Gurdwara architectural practices, where we have this so these curved eaves that you have in front of you are known as chalas. And since this is a square structure and we have 4 of these projected cusped eaves, this particular style would be known as chauchala. We have the guldastas around it, the jhalar here, the segmented dome surrounded by lotus petals, and this inverted lotus petal sort of crowning, and the finial itself, which again has a kind of a jhalar around it, which is crowning this. One interesting feature that I would like you to look at is these bent sunflower motifs in metal, and this is something that you must have also noticed in the Golden Temple, but this is a unique feature that is sort of unique to Sikh period, 19th century Sikh period. We do not find it in earlier Mughal practices, and this is, so these beautifully bent lotus flower motifs are again, of course, indicating that they are catching sunlight, which is, of course, auspicious. These are also used on the Maharaja's Samadhi, on the eastern side of the Samadhi, and we find them here as well. And as we enter this Burji Bangla, or the domical structure that crowns the building, we find this is the door to enter this, the square structure that has the dome on top of it. When we enter it from here, this is what we have. Exquisitely painted, beautifully painted interior. Every inch of this square structure in the interior has wall paintings on it. It has some birds in smaller panels, but most of the decorative vocabulary is floral, and The ceiling must have had some stucco carving. It must have had a lot of gold in it. This is beautifully rendered, beautifully done. These are again mirror mosaic, ainakari, stucco work, fresco painting, and let me see if I have, no. The close-up of this, of course, would give you a better understanding of what. So this raised area that you have in front of you is the stucco carving, is the white plaster carving, which is now gilded. And the gilding, of course, is on a red background. And this is the ornamental vocabulary or the design template or the color combination that was frequently used, that you must have seen in the Golden Temple interiors as well. And if you visit the Samadhi, you also have this particular style used there. And now now that you're familiar with the building, I will read historical accounts of the Dera Sahib Gurdwara. I will start with Noor Ahmad Chishti, who published his book Tehqiqat-e-Chishti, Lahore Ka Encyclopedia in 1856. So within the book, there is a subhead which says Hal Imarat Dera Guru Arjun Swargbashi. And of course, this is in Urdu and I've translated it. And the translation goes as this. The building has 3 entrances, north, south, and a smaller one on the west side. The south one has been blocked. The main entrance on the east side has an inscription in Gurmukhi written in ink on white plaster that has the title Bilawal Mehla. And according to Kanhaiya Lal, another historian that I'm going to come to in a while, this particular wall also had the Guru's image. So going back to Noor Ahmad Chishti's account, he further says that upon entering the eastern gate towards the south side was a pavilion decorated with frescoes that had the Sikhi ki deg, a large red sandstone bowl fixed in the platform used for grinding hemp leaves. He also states, and I'm reading these as in a bullet form, a chamber towards the north side had samadhis of number 1 Bhai Hakim Singh, the Gaddi Nashin, Bhai Lal Singh and Lakshmi Sarkar, Ranjit Singh's mother-in-law, also known as Waddi Pagga Wali Sarkar. Chishti further states that the courtyard on the north side had a small elevation, 4 inches high with a diameter of 2.25 yards, an octagonal plastered platform, and a wall 1 foot high. A flag hoisted on a 16-yard high post is tied with 24 ropes, and each facet of the octagonal platform has images on it. The ceiling of the central square chamber that we just saw, housing the symbolic samadh, is plastered and painted in gold with mirror work, as in the Sheesh Mahal. 3 arrows and a morchal, which is a peacock feather fan, are placed on the chabutra of the samadh under orders of Phula Singh Akalia, who paid a visit during Maharaja Ranjit Singh's reign. So according to this, and of course the other accounts, we find that there are a few things that are not there anymore. Some structures have been the way that they are used now is changed, as you must have noticed, but it also helps reconstruct or visualize as to what it must have looked like in mid-19th century shortly after it was built, without the changes that were added to it. And now let me read Kanhaiya Rai Bahadur Kanhaiya account, who published again in Urdu. The original is in Urdu, published in 1886. So talking about the Dera Sahib, Guru Arjun Dev's Samadhi, he says the central section of the building is decorated with images. The ceiling has mirror work and gold paint. The chabutra or platform of the Samadhi is of white marble with marble balustrade, and the canopy on top of the Samadhi is either silk, gold woven fabric, or pashmina. The area reserved for the Granth is exquisitely made. This holds both the Adi Granth and Guru Gobind Singh's Granth, and the niches here are painted with images of the 10 Sikh Gurus in gold that are totally missing. And another account by Sayyid Muhammad Latif, who published his book is in English, published in 1892. He says that a shamiana or awning of rich silk cloth is stretched over the main part of the structure, which stands on a marble platform surrounded by railings of the same material. The ceiling is richly decorated with tracery in stucco, inlaid with fragments of looking glass. And so in moving from the late 19th century to the earlier 20th century, early part of the 20th century, we find that in 1909, construction of Prakash Asthān and Manji Sahib was started for the Prakash of Guru Granth Sahib. Arrangements for a daily diwan were made. An inn for the residence of the pilgrims was also constructed, and this is different from the Mia Mir block we just saw. In 1925, a local committee was constituted by the Shiromani Committee in the wake of the Gurdwara reform movement. In 1927, the Shiromani Committee took over the charge of the Gurdwara, and its construction restarted on 21st April 1930, which was completed on 9th September 1934. The domes were gold-plated, floors were cemented. The front of the Gurdwara was built in marble. Prakash takes place daily. Evacuee Waqf Board has appointed 2 Granthis. International Sangats are held every year on Shaheedi Jod Mela, Vaisakhi, death anniversary of Maharaja Ranjit Singh, and birthday of Guru Nanak Dev Ji. And the Mia Mir block was built in 1996, which has 47 rooms by the government of Pakistan for the Sikh Yatris. And this leads me to a small sort of bit of information that I wanted to share with you, which is going back to the different times of the year where the Sikh pilgrims visit the Dera Sahib Gurdwara and other holy sites in Pakistan. And I have a small estimate of the yearly visits of the Sikh pilgrims. So April 1st is the Baisakhi festival from India, and these are again sort of rough estimates that I collected a couple of years ago. They may have increased now, hopefully. From India, you get 3,000 for Vaisakhi. From the rest of the world, around 500. June 6th is Guru Arjun Dev's death anniversary, anniversary of his martyrdom. In Lahore, we get 500 from India, the diaspora around 500. June 27th, Maharaja Ranjit Singh's death anniversary, Lahore, from India 500, from the rest of the world around 500. October and November is Guru Nanak Ji's birthday celebrations, Nankana Sahib, from India between 5,000 to 7,000, from the rest of the world around 3,000, and almost 15,000 Nanak Panthis from Pakistan living in Sindh and Balochistan. December has Guru Ramdas Ji's birthday, Chuna Mandi, Lahore. It is only from India that something between 250 to 500 yatris visit. December, Guru Nanak Ji's death anniversary in Kartarpur, Narowal, and again it is around the same number of yatris that visit from India.
Dr. Khan?
Yes.
Sorry, I apologize for interrupting. Are you still presenting the roof slide, the painting slide? Because everybody's seeing only that one right now.
Oh, yes. So I am just moving to this particular
Okay,
slide
yes.
now,
Yeah,
which is the image or the etching that is given in Sayyid Muhammad Latif's book, published in 1892. So this again sort of reiterates my point that this particular building that we just saw is the original building, and anything that was built or the rest, the other sections of the building that we saw were added to much later. So after partition, going back to my, and this is the last paragraph, after partition in 1947, and before that, and this is the stamp that was issued by the government of Pakistan commemorating the 400th anniversary of Guru Arjun Dev Ji's martyrdom in 2006. So after partition in 1947, the Evacuee Trust Property Board Pakistan, along with the Indian-based Shiromani Gurdwara Prabandhak Committee, assumed the responsibility of looking after the Gurdwaras in Pakistan. In 1999, however, the Pakistan Sikh Gurdwara Prabandhak Committee was formed, which took over from the Shiromani Gurdwara Prabandhak Committee and is now successfully running the show. The titles of these committees pretty much reveal their purpose and focus, just the Gurdwaras, leaving all other monuments and objects unattended and ignored. So, to date, we do not have a formal committee, local or foreign, documenting, conserving, or preserving Sikh cultural property other than the religious ones. And at the end, I would just bring to your attention some of these extremely important buildings that need to be paid more attention to. And these are within the Lahore fort. These are either additions or alterations dateable to the Sikh period. One is Athdara that the Maharaja used to hold his kacheri, which is right outside the Musamman Burj, adjacent to the Musamman Burj wall, in fact. The Sheesh Mahal, of course, was built by Shah Jahan, but the Ainakari and wall paintings within the Sheesh Mahal are dateable to Ranjit Singh. There is a small temple outside the Musamman Burj. There is Kharak Singh's Haveli within the Lahore fort, and Rani Jinda's Haveli, of course, in the Lahore fort. A few other buildings in Lahore, and this is of course not all the buildings, but commissioned by the Lahore Darbar, is Bhai Basti Ram's Samadhi, the Huzuri Bagh Baradari, Nonihal Singh's Haveli, which is used as a girls' school in the walled city, and Maharaja Ranjit Singh's own Samadhi, which is in a fairly sort of preserved state because it is within the Dera Sahib complex, and access to it is not easy. And thank you very much, and we can sort of do the question and answers now.
Thank you, Dr. Khan. We do have a few questions. I'm going to go ahead and unmute Amrik Bhamra. He's going to ask the question over the mic. Hopefully he's got a few questions. Amrik, let me know if you can hear my voice. You are unmuted, so you can start speaking. not sure if he's still there.
Ah,
Okay.
can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Oh, okay. Anyway, good afternoon.